everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today we're going to learn about 8 simple steps to overcome shyness. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Make a fear scale. What scares you the most? No, I'm not talking about spiders or clowns. I'm talking about all the things in life that you've spent years shying away from. Maybe you've always had trouble starting up conversations with strangers, or maybe you've never had the courage to ask out someone that you really like. For this step to work, I need you to think about every single thing that you're afraid to do. Now ask yourself why you're scared of these situations. What is it about that particular activity that makes you uncomfortable? Now, as you dive deeper into these intimidating scenarios, I want you to give them a rating from 1 to 10. Now, a 1 is something that only scares you a little bit. In the right environment, you'd probably take a shot at it. On the other hand, a 10 is something that you're absolutely terrified of. These are the activities that you can't even imagine yourself doing. Okay, so once you've given each of your fears a number, put them all together. What you've just created is called a fear scale. Fear scales are tools that shy people use to gradually come out of their shell. You start at the bottom of your fear scale with the 1s and the 2s. Yeah, these are your easiest, most accessible fears. Now you put them at the bottom because they really aren't that intimidating. So these are the activities that you should tackle first. Alright, let's say that you put being assertive on your fear scale. You're not that worried about it, so you gave this activity a 1. That low rating makes being assertive the perfect place to start. For the next week, I want you to make it your goal to stand your ground at least 2 or 3 times. Face your fear, cross it off your list, and then move on up to the next level. Slowly but surely, you'll work your way toward the higher end of the spectrum, and you'll notice something weird happening. 4s will feel like 2s. 8s will feel like 6s. Situations that absolutely terrified you will feel more doable than ever. Number 2. Decipher your relationships. Shyness is associated with meeting new people, but it also affects the relationships that you're already in. In fact, you can learn a lot about your shyness by looking at the quality of your social relationships. This idea is based on something called attachment theory. Attachment theory is a psychological model that describes various kinds of relationships. Just think about all the different relationships that you have in your life. Some of them might be strong and secure, while others are chaotic and inconsistent. You might have a certain dynamic with your partner and a completely different dynamic with your friends. Attachment theory organizes all of these relationships into one of 4 groups: secure, anxious avoidant, anxious ambivalent, and disorganized. Now, we won't talk about what each group stands for, but it's worth exploring on your own if you're interested. So, what does all this have to do with shyness? Well, your relationships give you a glimpse into the ways that shyness changes your behavior. Just imagine you're someone who runs away from emotional conversations with your friends. Now, you might do the same thing when you're feeling shy. Instead of embracing the unknown, you might avoid the things in life that scare you. Understanding how your shyness works is a huge step toward real behavioral change. Once you know what to look for, you'll have a much easier time catching yourself in the act. Number 3. Familiarity with unfamiliarity. Sometimes shyness revolves around your environment. At home or at your friend's house, you might be a really outgoing person. You enjoy meeting new people, you're always making jokes, and you have no problem coming out of your shell. But the moment you go somewhere new, you clam up. How can you be confident in some environments but shy in others? Well, the problem is unfamiliarity. When you're in an environment that you know, that familiar context will unlock the best version of you. It suppresses your insecurities because you're immersed in a place where you feel calm and comfortable. Now, in a new environment, your nerves go haywire. You feel overwhelmed by unfamiliar people and places, so that confident side of you quickly disappears. Luckily, there's an easy way to get rid of this kind of shyness. Before you can feel confident in any new environment, you need more experience with unfamiliarity. Okay, let's say you really want to put yourself out there at a work event next weekend, but it's happening somewhere that you've never been. Understandably, you're nervous. You're worried you'll be too shy to talk to anyone. So, what should you do to boost your confidence? During the week, visit a few uncomfortable places. Yeah, put yourself in environments that are far outside your comfort zone. And that way, when next weekend rolls around, your party won't feel any scarier than the places that you've already been. Number 4. Coin your phrase. Everyone knows practice makes perfect. Rehearsing something beforehand will give you a nice boost of confidence in the heat of the moment. Why? Well, because you're taking something uncomfortable and you're making it feel comfortable. Using that same idea, let's explore another easy step you can take to come out of your shell without really coming out of your shell. I call this one coining your phrase. Coining something means to make it your own. So when you coin a phrase, you're putting your stamp on that specific set of words. It's almost like creating your own catchphrase, but instead of making a joke, you're coining a phrase that will smooth over the most nerve-wracking part of any conversation, the very beginning. All you need to do is figure out an intro that captures who you are. Think about things like, where are you from? How do you normally talk? How casual do you want that conversation to be? These questions will help you hone in on an intro that's perfect for any situation. So whether you're at work, at home, or at a party, you'll always have your coined phrase to fall back on. Yeah, I know it doesn't seem like much, but this small change makes all the difference. Number 5. Direct your attention outward. Over the years, researchers have discovered something interesting about shy people. They're unintentionally self-absorbed. I know that sounds bad, but this kind of self-absorption is really different from arrogance or narcissism. Shy people don't think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but they do have trouble paying attention to anyone but themselves. If you're a shy person, you might spend a huge amount of time analyzing your looks and your behavior. You might be worried about embarrassing yourself, but that self-absorption is making your shyness 10 times worse. That's why researchers recommend paying more attention to the people around you. The more compassionate you are, well, the less time you'll spend overanalyzing yourself. You'll be so distracted by other people that your shyness will just fade into the background. Number 6. Rearrange your expectations. Not everyone can be incredibly extroverted. Some people are better suited for the spotlight, while others are quiet and introspective. No matter how much you want to be a super sociable person, it might be unrealistic for your personality type. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have a healthy social life. Just don't expect to suddenly become the most outgoing person in the world. This is a mistake that tons of shy people make. They imagine a hypothetical version of themselves that excels in every social situation. They spend years chasing this exaggerated version of their future, but it's just not real. It's not something they could ever accomplish because whether they like it or not, they're just not built that way. So, if you want to overcome your shyness, set realistic expectations for yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you should expect less, just don't expect too much either. Your social expectations need to make sense for you as an individual. Otherwise, you'll never make any progress. But if you keep your expectations in check, you'll develop the kind of ideal self that gives you something real to look forward to. Number 7. Conquer one new challenge. Many people try to overcome their shyness by tackling 100 problems at once. They think they need to fix all of their fears in one fell swoop, but instead of conquering everything, they end up accomplishing nothing. If you're looking for an effective way to get over your shyness, focus your attention on one challenge, just one. Pick one new thing that scares you. It could be a hobby that you've always been too hesitant to try. Or maybe it's a person that you've always wanted to get to know. Whatever it is, invest your time and energy into that one single challenge. The goal of this step is to change the way you approach your shyness. Don't try to change your personality. Don't make yourself act like a different person. Just don't force it, and the rest will come naturally. Number 8. Eliminate your scapegoats. As you take on new challenges, you might notice yourself falling back into old patterns. At parties, you might hide in the corner by yourself, or you might use your workload to justify skipping fun social events. Both are common scapegoats that shy people use to protect themselves from their fears. I like to think of these scapegoats like the inflatable tubes that you bring into the pool. On one hand, they stop you from sinking, but on the other hand, they keep you from swimming freely. My point here is, instead of protecting you, your scapegoats are holding you back. They're giving you a comfortable way to avoid challenging yourself or taking risks. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life floating above water and just wishing you had the courage to find out what was waiting below the surface. So, figure out what habits you use to protect yourself and get rid of them. Even if it's just for a couple of hours, this step gives you the chance to put your shyness behind you. Hey, thank you for watching Top Think, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.